What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my banner review and builds guide for Tempest Trials seasonal banner featuring Hoshido Summer Lucia, Nephenee, Mia, Leo, and Takumi as the Grail unit. So Lucia is a lance infantry unit this time with Breezy Spear as her preferred weapon. This gives her +3 attack because she has no business triggering any kind of special, so she doesn't get minus in special cooldown, and now she has got distant counter effect built in this weapon, so she can run some other slotty skills, and then she doesn't really have any kind of condition for the other effects of her weapon. She can just easily get them, so she can get +5 to all of her stats and can get even more stats depending on 15% of her speed at sort of combat. She also gets true damage based on 20% of her speed, which is going to be helpful for getting the kills, and then she also heals up 7 HP after the combat. Now similar to original Lucia, she is going to be having no special triggering for herself and also for her foe. She also inflicts the feud effect on both herself and the enemy, and both the enemy and herself gets the Hardy Bearing, Null Follow Up, and Null Counter Disrupt, and she also disables any kind of defensive terrain effects and any kind of supportive effects. So we have seen this before, and if you have used Lucia for any amount of time, then you can tell that she's going to be having polarizing matchups because she can do really well against the units that really depend on their specials for the damage reduction piercing, but against the units that have the passive damage reduction shredding, she's going to be kind of dying to them because she doesn't really have any kind of flat damage reduction out of this weapon, and she also doesn't really get any kind of damage reduction, even the regular damage reduction. So you're going to be depending on the skills for her to be bulky, and she can be pretty annoying at times, but now we have got so much damage reduction shredding on units that it is going to be not that hard to deal with her compared to when she came out as her original version. And back then we didn't really have as much damage reduction piercing. And she also is not going to be able to get the damage reduction piercing herself because she cannot really trigger any kind of special. So you'll have to support her with someone like Legend Camilla, for example, and give her the damage reduction piercing status so that she can do that against the nukes that have a lot of damage reduction and will not die otherwise. And you want to support her with a lot of visible status effects because the support that you can provide to her is a bit limited because of the feud effect. So Lucia can still function as a decent Omni tank, but right now she's a bit out of time and out of place when we have got so much damage reduction piercing, and there are just so many other Omni tanks that are better than her and do a much better job. Like Attune Sita is also a lance infantry unit who can get a lot of flat damage reduction, and even though this Lucia does have distant counter, the choices for the slotted skills can be a bit awkward at times. She does come with 42 base attack with a super boon and also base 46 speed, which is going to be better than her original version because now she can get a lot more stats in the combat, so that is at least something better. And for her base kit, she does come with attack speed bulwark for giving her some regular damage reduction and some healing, and she also has firm Canto curb. So this is the tier 4 version of Canto control, which is going to be having force based range, and it is going to be preventing any kind of end action status from being inflicted on the unit and the allies in 3 spaces. And if they have any kind of effects that could end their action, it is going to be neutralizing all of those effects. This doesn't really include the ending action of Safety Fence and also the 7th slot in Aether Raids defense, but this is mainly going to be targeting Dual Leon, and in the crossfire, Sather is also going to be hurt, both her newer version and the regular version. And Fomortis also gets affected actually, and he was the first unit to have the end action shenanigans. And with Breath of Life 4 and firm Canto curb, Dual Leon is definitely not going to be a menace anymore, and this is mainly going to be a skill that you're going to be running in Summoner Duels. In Aether Raids defense, it is not going to be needed that much because as it is, the usage of Sather is going to be limited, and the main target of this skill is Dual Leon. So the same units that run Canto Control 3 can also make use of this, and easily Duo Female Robin is going to be the best option because you can use her in Aether Raids defense and also in Summoner Duels for the action economy, and she's easily one of the best units in the game. So she likes having this, and you can also run this on someone like Nurgle, who again can be used in both Aether Raids defense and also in Summoner Duels, and he's a menace. And he can be so bulky with Lagoose Friend, so he can be a good option with this Lotsie skill if you have the support for him. And you could also run this on Medius to give more utility with High Dragon Wall. So even though this is not really needed as much in Aether Raids defense, it is something you can do at this kind of higher investment. If you want to build up Lucia with the fodder of Divine Codes, then you could try and run Gale Force as the special, which she can actually trigger, and you can have attack speed ideal for as the slotted skill. So this is the medium investment build that you could run if you don't have the premium fodder, but if you have it, then it could definitely be improved. And Gust is going to be the best special that you could run on her, not for its damage output, but rather for the damage reduction, which you can take advantage of if you pre-charge it, and you can also take advantage of the healing and the true damage of attack speed finish. So those could be run on her, and you could also run Panic Smoke for her, just like the good old days of Lucia. So this could give you the foe penalty doubler status and help you in the Omni tanking. Attack with Echo is one of the few attune skills that you could utilize on Lucia, as she doesn't really want Guard Echo or Null Counter Disrupt Echo. And you could even run Vital Astra for the pierceable damage reduction, or Godlike Reflexes for the true damage, but I kind of like Gust a bit more for its unpierceable damage reduction, which really helps her tank. And you could also run her with Gambit, just like old Lucia, and Gambit is going to be giving you 50% damage reduction and also 15 true damage, which does help her get the kills. And Gambit also gives you the pierceable damage reduction, but rarely ever it is going to be fully pierced because she stops these special triggers, so it can still be helpful to be a bit bulky. And Breath of Life 4 is going to be a really good tanking skill for the healing, and Breath of Life 4 is not something that you can take advantage of from an ally because of her feud effect, so running it on her is going to be important if you want to get the healing. And attack speed unity is one of the few slotted skills that can work with having the distant counter weapon, so there are a lot of debuffs flying around, but ultimately I think her best slotted skill is going to be bonus doubler 4, and at high or max investment you can use her with Lagoose Friend. You're not going to be getting the damage reduction piercing or the true damage because again you're not going to be triggering a special, but it is mainly there for the flat damage reduction, which she really needs. And at this kind of high investment you can stack up a lot of stats with bonus doubler and pretty much get the flat damage reduction based on her resistance. So it is an option. It's a bit weird and awkward, but that is pretty much the best option available to her if you're trying to Omni tank. And Gust is the special that you can try and pre-charge for its unpierceable damage reduction, which is going to be helping even more with this kind of Lagoose Friend build. Harmonic Nephenee is here with Sakura, and she's got Fluttering Fan as her preferred weapon. This gives her minus in special cooldown, and if there's any kind of ally in 3 rows or 3 columns centered on her, then she's going to be getting extra stats, and this is going to be depending on the number of foes in 3 rows and 3 columns multiplied by 3, and this can be up to max 14, and if there's any kind of Divine Vein or difficult terrain near her, then it is going to be counting as max. So you can get 14 to all of your stats in the combat, and then you have got Dull Speed Resistance, which is going to be ignoring the visible buffs of the enemy, and you also get the special cooldown -1 jump before your first attack and before your first follow-up attack. So it is going to be an anti-scowl effect in a way, and you also get special true damage +10 if your HP is at or below 99%. And with Resonance, you're easily going to be having the lower HP, so you're going to be able to get the true damage on your special triggers, which is good with the special jumping. And Nephenee was the first Xena to have Wrath, so it's kind of fitting that she has got this, and she also gets the sweep effect if she has got more speed than the foe speed. So sweep effects have kind of fallen off because the best Omni tank in the game has got Null Counter Disrupt, and then we also have Null Counter Disrupt Echo as an attune skill, but still sweep effect can help you in some of the matchups like against the Far Saviors like Ascended Amelia and also Valentine Myrrh. And Nephenee not only gets the effects in the combat, but also gives some supportive effects to the allies in 3 rows and 3 columns. So she's going to be giving the Null Guard effect, the special jumping before their first attack, and also the special true damage +10 if their HP is below 99%. And we're going to be getting Brave Bernie, so that's probably going to be making it easier to be in that HP threshold. So this kind of support is really going to be helping Nephenee because even if her combat falls off, at least she's going to be providing the support. And right now she functions as a pretty nice supportive nuke. She also has base 47 speed with a super boon and base 45 attack, so that is just perfect for nuking. And then she also has a new slotted skill in attack speed mastery, which is only going to be there for the flying units. So this can give you Canto too if you have entered combat in the current turn. and this can give you +7 attack and speed in the combat. And if there's any kind of Divine Vein or difficult terrain in 2 spaces, then you get +4 attack and speed on top of it. So it is going to be having good synergy with Deadly Miasma, and you can try and get the Canto while still running some other sloppy skills. And being a harmonic unit, she does have her harmonic button, giving you the effects to your Path of Radiance and Fates units. So she's going to be giving +6 attack and speed buff, the Resonance Blades effect, and also +1 movement, which is quite important for Summoner Duels usage. And you also neutralize any kind of penalty on unit and the allies. So the cleansing is really helpful, and again, this is going to be really useful in Summoner Duels where mainly the skill is going to be used. She also comes with Emblem Celica's Resonance 4, and I've made a full video going over the best users of this, so you could maybe check that out. But basically it is going to be giving you the self-recall damage based on 20% of X, and this is not going to be counting the HP boost from Legendary, Mythic or bonus effects. And this can also give you -4 speed and resistance debuff, and true damage up to 12, and also damage reduction piercing up to 60%. So this is a really important skill for Nephenee because she wants to have that HP threshold for getting the +10 true damage on her specials, and she also wants to have the damage reduction piercing passively. So this is the perfect skill, and there's no need of changing this. She also comes with Speed Resistance Crux, which is going to be giving more support to the allies in 3 rows and 3 columns. So overall, Nephenee functions as a amazing supportive nuke with a lot of power behind her attacks, and she also has the utility with her harmonic button for something like Summoner Duels. On a budget, you should definitely be running Squad Ace BS Sacred Seal because you want to reach 50 HP to get the max effects out of Resonance 4, and she does have enough HP to easily take advantage of it, so make sure you run the Sacred Seal. And then you can also run Luna and run it with Emblem Marth, so you can instantly trigger this with your special jumping on both your first attack and your follow-up attack. So this is going to be doing a lot of damage, and Deadly Miasma could be run in this slot C as it is going to be having good synergy with attack speed mastery, and you can also run Soaring Echo at the same time from Attuned Ivy. So this is going to be providing even more support to your allies, and again, as you're going to be using Resonance 4, you should be using Squad Ace Sacred Seal to get the max effects out of it. Hoshido Summer Mia is an Axe Flyer this time, and she has got Summertime Axe as her preferred weapon. This gives her -1 special cooldown, and it also has the Neo Trace effect. So she does not really get the fixed Canto, instead she has got Canto remaining +1 movement, and she also gets visible +5 to all of her stats, kind of like Chloe. So this does help you have the visible resistance check with the Pegasus Rift. And then if her HP is at or above 25%, then she can give herself the +6 speed, defense, and resistance buff, and also the Iot Shield status and the 50% damage reduction piercing status. So this does contribute towards the prime skill that she comes with, and having the 50% damage reduction piercing is pretty nice, as even if you're not able to run no quarter, you're still going to be having some damage reduction piercing. And then for the combat, she has got extra stats depending on 15% of her speed at start of combat. And she also has Null Guard, so triggering specials is going to be easy. And then she has got a bunch of true damage based on X multiplied by 5. And X is going to be number of bonus status active on herself and the foe. So even if the bonus status effects are stolen by someone like Nurgle, they're still going to be having the bonus status effects, and that is going to be giving you true damage. So this is going to be a lot of true damage, as this can go up to max 30. So you're going to be needing 6 visible status effects for having this max out. And then you also get flat damage reduction against the regular hits of the enemies, depending on X multiplied by 3. And the max this can be is 18. And then you get another part of flat damage reduction on the special triggers of the enemy. And this can also go up to max 18. So she has got a lot of flat damage reduction and the true damage. So she's going to be trying to tank with it and also nuke pretty hard with it. She also gets 7 HP healing after the combat, so it is going to be good for the self-sustain. So she's trying to be a mixed phase flyer with her 35 resistance and also 27 defense. She does have 47 base speed with a super boon, and she doesn't really have the null follow-up effect out of this weapon, but she's going to be relying on the Diamant effect out of Pegasus Rift so that she doesn't really get doubled. And Pegasus Rift is a pretty amazing slot B skill for a lot of flyers. So this is going to be giving you -4 attack and speed debuff. And this is going to be better than Wyvern Rift because that gives you -4 attack and defense debuff. So for a speedy flyer, the speed debuff is actually pretty helpful. And then if the in-combat speed and resistance total is more than or equal to foe's speed and resistance total -10, then the following effects are going to be occurring in the combat. And this is not going to be counting the phantom effects from something like phantom speed, and this is going to be giving you true damage and also flat damage reduction. So the way it is calculated is basically using your visible resistance, and it is subtracted with 30, and the max you can get is 10. So again, this is going to be better than Wyvern Rift, which gives you 7 flat damage reduction and 7 true damage, and at minimum wants you to have 42 defense. Compare that to Pegasus Rift, where you need to have minimum 40 base resistance, and then you get 10 true damage and 10 flat damage reduction. So it's a step up compared to Wyvern Rift, and you also get the guaranteed follow-up attack and the follow-up denial, which is not going to be mattering a lot, but still it can be helpful. And then you have the Diamant effect or the Frozen effect, which can increase the speed difference needed for the foe to make a follow-up attack by 20. And this is going to be helping a lot of speedy flyers. And like I said, Mia doesn't really have null follow-up, so she's going to be relying on this effect quite a lot. I wanted to make it easier to visualize all possible recipients of the skill, so here are all of them, and they are separated by their color. There's only one single green unit who wants to have this, and that is Resplendent Camilla. We're going to be having some of the weapon refines coming up, and a lot of the units are going to be having enough speed and resistance, but some of them like Tanith are going to be barely scraping by because they can run Wyvern Rift, but Pegasus Rift is a bit better than Wyvern Rift if given a choice, and you will need to utilize all of the visible stats and the sacred seals to get that 40 base resistance, which you must reach for getting the 10 flat damage reduction and 10 true damage. So Chloe is going to be one of the best users of this, if not the best one, because just like Mia, she also gets the visible +5 to all of her stats with this weapon, and this can also enable you to run ploy skill in the slot C. So this way she's able to function at her peak potential now with this skill being available, and Resplendent Camilla can be a pretty unique green flyer who can make use of this, and you can use attack speed XL to get even more flat damage reduction in the player phase, and in the enemy phase you're going to be getting the flat damage reduction on the enemy specials. So this can be a way of building up the units with Pegasus Rift, and you can get attack speed rain snap at the same time. So that can be a good skill with the XL skill, and Fiora did get a pretty nice weapon refine, and if you want to take more of a player phase approach, then attack speed mastery could be run with Deadly Miasma, and then you can just trigger no quarter easily, and Pegasus Rift is going to be giving you the flat damage reduction, which is going to be working really well with the damage reduction that she already gets from her weapon. So this is more player phase focused, but it can also work in the enemy phase, and Deadly Miasma works really well with the mastery skill, so you can get the Canto 2 out of it, but if you want to have the flat damage reduction, then XL is something you can consider. So these are pretty much the build options on a lot of the flyers that are going to be wanting to use Pegasus Rift. Overall, Hoshido Summer Mia is an amazing nuke as an axe flyer because of the true damage that she's able to get. She does have the flat damage reduction, but that is not impressive anymore because we have got so many Omni tanks that can tank better than Mia, but having that true damage does make her function as a really good flying nuke, and she could function even as a melee frontliner because of Pegasus Rift and the flat damage reduction. So she's not going to be as frail as many of the nukes, and that does give her a chance to function in Summoner Duels with enabling the warping with Soaring Echo, and you also get the 50% damage reduction piercing out of her weapon. So she can hit really hard. So I think her nuking potential is going to be carrying her compared to the tanking, which she comes with a prime skill for, which is not really the best thing now that we have got a lot of buff stealing. So on a budget, you will need to give Mia another bonus status effect so that she can trigger her prime skill and get the distant counter effect out of it. She can already get 3 status effects, so you need just one more. And you could run attack speed clash as the sacred seal, and it does work really well with the rain snap that she comes with. And if you want to make her fully self-sufficient with the prime skill usage, then you can give her attack with Echo. So this way she's able to have all 4 status effects and also fully buff up all of her stats. And even though she can already get the damage reduction piercing status, you can also run no quarter which gives you the full damage reduction piercing, and with Emblem Marth, it becomes a 1 cooldown special, so if you pre-charge it, you can trigger no quarter twice in a single round of combat. So that is going to be helping quite a lot with nuking with her insane true damage potential. And if you don't want to run a prime scale, then you can also run distant attack speed solo. And if you're trying to tank more with her, then Breath of Life 4 could be used in the slot C to just have the healing and also mitigate the instant damage or the pre-combat damage. And again, no quarter is going to be the special of choice, despite overlapping a bit with her weapon. And Soaring Echo could be used so that she can provide some of the warping to her allies and function a bit supportive, because all of the effects that she has got in her weapon are a bit selfish in nature, so having some supportive effects are going to be useful. And like I mentioned before, she could be used in Summoner Duels, and there you could try and run her with Attack Speed XL to get even more flat damage reduction in the player phase, and even more in the enemy phase against the enemy specials. And with Emblem Celica, you're going to be having good synergy with the Excel skill, and Rain Snap also works out really well. And you could try and run Distant Counter Melee depending on your team composition, but Attack Speed Clash could be run if you want to mainly focus on the melee matchups. With all of the flat damage reduction that she has got, I think that Excel is pretty much the best skill that you can run to double down on that fact and be really bulky and be annoying. So you're going to be a bit reminiscent of Halloween Anna in that role of a melee flyer. Halloween Anna can have Miracle Precharge, but Mia is going to be having a lot better nuking potential because of the true damage that she can get out of her weapon. Hoshido Summer Leo is a colorless Mage Cavalier with Juicy Bucketful as his inedible weapon. So this is going to be providing some options to Laurent and Nime, and this is going to be checking for your HP. And if it's at or above 25%, then you get +6 attack buff, and also the player phase guaranteed full up attack. So it's a decent effect to have on a slow cavalier like him, but it's not really all that good anymore because we have a lot of null follow up, and then in the combat you're able to get +4 to all of these stats, and you also get true damage based on X, and the X is going to be number of bonus status active on unit and the foe multiplied by 5, and this could go up to max 25. So it's a pretty decent weapon actually for its true damage, and even though this is present on Leo, I think this is a bit better used on Laurent and Nime because they are infantry units, so they can run a plet skill, run infantry null follow up, and take advantage of a lot of status effects which cavalry units are not going to be able to get. And this could even be used defensively because you're going to be able to retaliate back with flares with the Laurent build here I've got, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage because of the true damage that you could get out of this weapon. And you can get even more true damage by stacking this up with Resonance and get the damage reduction piercing. Leo is still going to be able to nuke pretty well with this weapon because of his base 46 attack, and he does have pretty high resistance at base 46 as well, which is going to be enabling the usage of ploy skills, and he does come with Stillwater 3, so you could definitely try and evolve that. And he's the first unit to have Fatal Smoke 3 as a 4-star focus, so this is going to be helping you as a bridge fodder. So overall, Leo is going to be having a bit of a trouble standing out because of not having a preferred weapon and having limited options as a colorless mage, but still he does have resistance that he could make use of, and now we do have Resonance as a slot B skill, which he can try and run and stack up the true damage and get the damage reduction piercing. So in the Divine Codes, we have got Lull Attack Resistance right now with Marianne, so you could try and run that as the slot B skill and give him the Resistance Refine. But if you're trying to give him a few more expensive skills, then you could try and run Crystalline Water instead. So this way you're going to be getting the penalty neutralization, and you could run Sabotage Attack Resistance to make use of the Visible Resistance and run Fatal Smoke 4. So if you don't want to run a ploy skill, you could still run the Sabotage skill to get some debuffs, and you could run Fortress Echo skill to get more true damage and also get the Canto for retreating. Even though pre-combat damage has been countered with Breath of Life 4, you could still try and run it with Flared Mirror and Occultist Strike, and if you have an extra dual Leon, then you could snag Inside Attack Resistance at the same time. So this does work really well with this weapon because you're able to get the Insided status, which counts towards the true damage. So that is something you could utilize on a Cavalier, and Flared Mirror and Occultist Strike is going to be giving you a lot of pre-combat damage, which does help with the nuking with his weapon. But ultimately, I think that the best skill for him is going to be Resonance 4, and he wants to stack up Visible Resistance with Crystalline Water And at max investment, he's going to be having enough HP to get the full damage reduction piercing out of this, and also stack up more true damage. And you can also run a ploy skill in the slot C to take full advantage of his hide resistance. So this is pretty much the best build that he can run with the tools that we've got right now. Hoshido Summer Takumi is the grail option out of this batch, and he's a colorless bow cavalier with stall game bow plus as the inevitable weapon. So this is the same weapon as Leo, but this is effective on flying units, and the player phase guaranteed follow-up attack is not that great compared to a lot of what the other bows can give you, but still I guess it's a decent option on a budget. And he does have defense rest Knack 3 at 5-star and rouse attack speed at 4-star. Rouse skills can be a good bridge fodder for the alarm skills, but as skills themselves, the rouse skills are not really the greatest, and Takumi has got a pretty good offensive stat line, so comparing it to the other free-to-play bow cavaliers that we have got, he easily blows them out of the water by having much better attack and having much better speed than them. And speed is what you need as a free-to-play fast cavalier, and he's going to be having about same defense, but it doesn't really matter too much because with the options that we've got, the offenses matter a lot more. So if you want to have a free-to-play bow cavalier to invest in, then Takumi is going to be your best option. And if you're trying to run a budget build on him, then you could just run Moonbow and Fury as the slotty skill, and a solo skill could work. But at higher investment, you could definitely try and change his weapon to Golden Eel Bow Plus, which is going to be giving you instant Deadeyes, which is really good. And then you could stack up the Flared Sparrow and Assassin Strike and pretty much have the entire kit inherited from Winter Yunaka. And Fatal Smoke is going to be helping you against the non-special miracle effects, so it can be a good slossy skill that you could run along with this weapon while triggering Deadeye. And plus speed IV is the main asset you should be focusing on. He does have the super boon in his attack, so you could try and focus on that if you're going to be spending a Floret. And this is pretty much going to be the ideal build. You can also try and change it a bit more with inside attack speed in the slot C, and Arcane Darkbow could also be run to have a more player phase approach, and you could trigger Deadeye on your double. Arcane Darkbow is also going to be a pretty good option, and you could still run stall game bow plus, but you're going to be getting the true damage instead of having the instant Deadeyes or the Desperation effect and minus on special cooldown of Arcane Darkbow. And Attuned Fortress is going to be the best attuned skill, as you're going to be running Assassin Strike in the slot B to get some true damage and also the pre-combat damage. I want to thank all of my two members for their constant support, and you can click the link on your screen right now to check out my review of the refines of this month. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as non-preferred weapon colorless mages. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.